The next step in rehabbing the interior of my 1970 Olds Rallye 350 was to redo the dash. You can see that the vinyl wood grain had shrunk and it started peeling from the backing plate. And also the dash, when it had been painted in the past, there's a lot of orange peel and there's some fish eyes, and it had been scratched over the years, so it all had to be redone. I bought a new wood grain kit for the car, so I wasn't going to mess with trying to repair the old wood grain. So it had to come off, and I wasn't too careful about how it came off, so it was all going to go in the trash. Some guys like to have a lot of options in their cars. That's not really my style. I'm kind of a less is more guy. So the AM radio's coming out, and it's not going back in. I'm going to do radio delete, just like I have in my 71 Formula. The instrument panel and the under-dash lenses for the lights above the windshield wipers and heater controls come out with just a few screws. And after removing the panel, the gauges are exposed and the bezels for the lenses. Next, I started sanding the lower dash. Started with 220 grit to remove the fish eyes and the orange peel. And then I worked down to 320 and 400 grit to get a nice smooth surface. I sprayed the lower dash with Krylon semi-flat black rattle can paint. I think the finish is a pretty close approximation to the factory finish. And the dash finish turned out pretty good. It's nice and smooth. And like I did with the glove box door in another video, I touched up the bright accents with silver paint. To make it easier to work on the steering column, I removed the steering wheel, and the horn button just pulls off, and then the horn ring, there's a few screws that hold it on, and then some screws on the steering wheel, and it just comes off. And with the steering column, there's a bracket underneath the column with two nuts. I loosened those nuts up until there was just a couple threads of engagement. That allowed me to drop the steering column down probably a good inch, maybe even more than that, which allowed me to get in there with some sandpaper and made it easier to tape. And like with the lower dash, I started with 220 grit and then moved to 320 and 400. But unlike the dash, this time I used semi-gloss paint. After painting the steering column, I removed the gauge bezels and lenses to get prepared for installing new lenses. Here you can see the bezels and lenses have been removed. I soaked the bezels and the light deflectors in evaporust for a few days, then give them a brushing with a toothbrush, clean them up. I repainted the outside of the deflectors with gloss black paint, and the inside, the factory blue paint was still in really good condition, so I didn't do anything with that. I repainted the clock knob with bright silver paint. And here I have everything laid out for reassembly and reinstallation. And the lenses, the bezels, the lenses, the light deflectors, I put them together as an assembly before installing them into gauges. And here you can see I have everything reinstalled. Looks pretty nice. I installed new heater control and windshield wiper appliques as well. And now it's time to install the new dash wood grain. Here you can see the dash is now radio delete. I showed how I reconditioned the instrument panel in another video, and now it was time to reinstall it. Things are starting to come together, and it looks pretty sharp. And the gauges look like brand new. The lower steering column cover was missing on the car when I got it, so I got a nice used original one and repainted it. I had to re-drill a couple holes to get the cover to fit up real tight to the dash, but once I did that and I installed the cover, the fit was really good. Next, the turn signal lever had to be replaced. Chrome had started peeling and it had some pitting. Steering wheel had probably had 20 years of armor all put on it, and it was all sticky, and that's not very pleasant. I put some Dawn dish soap in a bucket and scrubbed it and scrubbed it and scrubbed it, and eventually it came clean. Well, I have the steering wheel back on. And what an improvement. I mean, the dash looks just so much better, and it was certainly worth all the work I put into it.